Okay, so welcome everybody. This is a tutorial on getting started with Adobe Auditions, which is to say basic file management. So that's the first step of getting set up. And then getting your files into Adobe Auditions and starting to find your story and cutting to find the best pieces of tape. So let's start with step one. So you need to use computers that are on campus, in labs, in the library, wherever. That's where the Adobe suite is. Computers that have Adobe Auditions, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro, that sort of thing. So we're using Adobe Auditions. And so to be able to do that, you want to bring your files up into Google Drive. And so I've made a folder in my Google Drive called The Walk, right? This is my project. And so far I've gotten one of my walks in there. I have others to do yet. So that's good. That's step one. Now you're in your at your computer in your lab, wherever in the library. Before you open Adobe Auditions, you must sign into Google File Stream. Okay, and so I'm going to share a document from ETS, the Educational Technical Service, that'll show you exactly how to do this. So it's going to link Google Drive in such a way that you'll be able to access your files when you're in Adobe Audition. So this is a really, really important step. Sign in to Google File Share. Is that what it's called? Google, get out of there. Google Drive File Stream. Sign into that first. It'll take you all the way through these steps where you have to actually sign in with your, Denizen ID and all that. And then once you're signed in through that, then you're able to open up Adobe Auditions. Okay. Okay. So you're signed into Google File Stream. You've got your files in Google Drive. You're good to go. Now we can sign into Adobe Auditions. So, as I say, there's a whole suite of programs. If you haven't worked in them so far, we're looking for Auditions, and that's the audio editing software. And these all interact with each other. So, the world is becoming multimedia, no matter what your field of study is going to be, even if you're not going to be narrative journalism. This is a marketable skill to have. This is going to be time well spent to learn how to use these new media skills. So you should find it here. If you don't find Adobe Auditions right here, just go into the Creative Cloud or just type to search in the search bar. So when you get to this media browser, over here on this media browser here in this left window, right now it's directing me to files that are literally on my computer. But this bottom one here, this Google one, is the one that's going to send me to my Google Drive, and it's through the file stream. And in Google Drive, I have the option for shared files or mine. And here's the walk. Let's open that up. And there's my Dylan file. Okay, so there's my file management, and I now have access to my file, which is on Google Drive. And the best thing about this way of doing it is you're going to work on this for a little while. You're going to leave in a day or two. You're going to come back, and you can come back to any computer, right? Your file is, in the cloud, so to speak. So if this is a way where you don't have to worry about coming back to the exact same computer. So this is file management. This is the way you're going to access your files. This is the way you're going to be able to edit your files. And so that's step one. Okay, so now we are ready to start our project. So we're going to go up here. We're going to go to new project. This is exciting. We're going to go to multi-track sessions. Okay, we're going to title it. I'm going to title mine The Walk. And then we're going to come down here to template. And I'm going to hit the drop down. And we're going to come down here to podcast. I'm going to click that. So I have my title. I have my podcast. Let's go in here to file location. And let's deal with this later. Let's deal with this on the back end. It's going to want to save the file to this computer, but we're going to deal with this on the back end. So everything else is auto-saved to the template that we're using. So everything else is good. So we're going to say OK. Apparently, I've already created a file like that, so I'm going to overwrite it. And there we go. So by creating this multi-track podcast template, I've given myself 4 tracks plus a master. And they've even labeled them for us, right? The host, the interview, sound effects, and a music bed. And, you know, we're not necessarily going to use each of these in this way, although we may. It's up to us. So we'll just see where we go. So let me go over here to my files. I know where my files are now. And I'm going to take my walk and I'm just going to click and I'm going to drag it. And I'm not doing interviews, so I'll just put it there. Okay. And I'm going to wait for it to populate. It's a fairly long file. It's extra long. It's longer than it needs to be because I wanted to record myself getting in the car after the walk, and then I just let it run all the way home. So voila. So what we see here are waveforms, and they're really handy to be able to see. And let's just, so how do you get around in here? So what you have up here, this little green guy up top, is called your playhead. And you can just take your little mouse and you can go up. And when the little finger points at the playhead, you can just left click on it and then take your mouse and you can drag it around, right? And you can drag it all the way back. And then there's quicker ways of moving around, I believe. There's this way. It was just going all the way to the back really fast. And then this is the play head. That's the wind in White Pine. And that's the wind in some weedy looking tree. Okay, so here's the issue that you're going to have, and here's what, if we were professional audio storytellers like the people that we're reading about in Jessica Abel's book, we would listen to every second of the tapes that we've accumulated, and we would log every second. and take copious notes and begin to sketch out our story. And obviously, we don't have the luxury of being in that situation. And the fact is, even we've had Jesse Dukes coming down here on a frequent basis from WBZ Chicago in the past couple of years, and even he often doesn't have that much time with the stories that he works on. So we're going to have to do some shortcutting, and it's not all that hard to do because oftentimes when we come home, we kind of know already what the more interesting moments were from our experience already. So we're not going to listen to every single second of our walk, unless if we have the time, it's not a bad idea because we will discover things that actually sound better on tape than what we experienced. So this is a thing where you just kind of have to mess around, and sometimes you just skip. Like I really kind of like enjoyed doing that little part, but I don't think it's one of the more interesting parts of the tape, except I really did like the footstep, as a lot of you are discovering the footsteps sound really cool. They sounded really cool in Jad Abumrad's piece called Neon Moss. So you have a certain license to kind of jump around. So let's talk about navigation techniques, right? So down here on the bottom right, you have ability to manipulate the timeline and make it bigger or smaller, just to allow you to see this. So here, now I see the whole thing all together. This is my whole tape, and you can see how the waveform changes. So you can tell all that's just me riding home with the radio on, right?
Get down high, Scott.
You can just tell because the waveforms change.
Would you give us your overall...
So after a while, you kind of get good at reading waveforms, Sometimes, you'd think some of these bigger waveforms were maybe me talking and the smaller ones were maybe me walking, but it's not really true. I think more the big ones are probably when the wind was blowing against the microphone. But I know some of the ones that I really, the moments that I really liked. And the thing is, your walk was narrative. So once you kind of find those moments, you can just start cutting them. So how do we do that? How do we start manipulating the tape? Excuse me. So up here are your tools. And the main tools that I would use are that one, the razor blade, right? And if you hover over it, it gives you the shortcut, which is the R, the letter R. And then this one, which is the one that I'm on now, which is the V, and that's the move tool. So these are the two main ones, the R and the V. Let's see what this one is. That's the skip tool. So I'm not even sure what this one is. I don't really work in this one, the time selection tool. So I work in Premiere Pro because I do video work. So I don't know this. I could learn it pretty easily. Once you learn one Adobe application, you can learn the others. But so these are the main two. You can do a lot with just these two. So these are the ones we're going to focus on. So the razor and the move tool. So if I find a part that I know that I liked, also you look for as many shortcuts as you can just to save yourself time. So rather than keep on going down here to hit play, your space bar is a play head too. So if I just keep my mouse here and use the space bar, I can get things done really fast. Also, it'll just keep playing it.
Quiet. Just a different noise. Because it was orange. Oop, there it is. Now it went right over my head.
Yeah, so around the butterfly there. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I stopped by pressing the space bar. Now I'm going to press the R key, and that turns my mouse into a razor, and I'm going to snip there. Right, so I made a cut. And I'm going to come ahead a little bit.
Almond, this far north. And they're dry this time of the year.
So, and this is cool.
But in
You
the
can just,
spring
like,
and early summer,
the
this
footsteps
was
are different there because I'm on a boardwalk, which goes through a cypress grove, which is pretty cool. I like the footsteps. I don't really like what I'm saying about the cypress grove. And I know the moment that I'm really after is somewhere right on the other side of that boardwalk.
usually I take this walk.
That's the moment I want. And I know that it ends right about there on the other side of those waveforms. So, am I still in my razor? Yeah, I'm still in my razor. So there. So that's what I really want. So now I'm going to go back to V. So I'm out of my razor. And I know this part, there might be something good there. Maybe I don't want to throw it away. I just left clicked on it. So if I wanted to just get rid of it, I could hit cut and it's gone, right? If you ever do something and you say, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that. Control Z. Control Z is your friend, right? It's back. So maybe, I know I'm not really interested in that right now, but who knows? Maybe I'm going to use this track down here. I just clicked and dragged. Maybe I'm just going to use that track down there to like hold stuff that maybe I want and maybe I don't. But I'm going to drag this over like this. I know I really liked that moment. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go through here and for both of my walks, and I'm going to take all the moments that I like the most, and I'm going to start lining them up, lining them up, and lining them up. Whether I'm not smoothing anything out right now, that's going to be the next tutorial. I'm not polishing anything right now. I'm not doing my narration yet, right? And I'm not talking about a music bed yet. So all those things will be the next tutorial. What this tutorial is about is A, file management, which we did. We've got our file. And B, just going through and finding your best bits, right? And stacking them, okay? So just for time's sake, let's say this was another bit. So I'm going to hit R. I'm going to cut there. And I'm going to cut there, okay? And I'm going to hit V. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to move this over. So I don't need a good transition, right? I just want to like I'm gonna see this M here. I muted this whole track, so everything I put down here is I'm not going to hear. But now I can just play these good parts that I want.
Imagining me.
And they'll just go into each other. Well, I don't even know where I cut, so they won't be smooth cuts. But what I'll wind up with are all of what I think of as my best bits, kind of lined up together. And this is how I'm gonna start to like get what my narrative is going to be from these walk experiences. And not just out of my head, like what I wanted my narrative to be, but what narrative I actually captured with audio, right? And this is how you do it, right? And so, this is just one walk, right? So hopefully you have at least 3. I know some of you took really long ones, and so maybe you have 2. But just stack those things together, and this is step 1. And then I listen to them, once, twice, listen to them a few times, and then you start to get ideas, and then you start to say, well, you know what, this one's not really working. He goes down there. But you know what, I need to pull at least half of this guy back up. And this is the creative process of putting an audio story together. And it gets kind of like fun, and every now and then you just have to walk away, do something else for homework, actually go, I was going to say go for a walk, but just a walk, not a project walk. Play basketball, whatever it is you do, go swimming, yoga, whatever. And then ideas will come to you like, oh, I could mix this with that. And and this is how these projects kind of come together. You just kind of are shuffling things around. So that's it. That's the progress. Pull out your best bits, line them up, see what you have, what are the best sounds, and then the next step will be the more polishing parts. How do these need to be organized? And that's where narrative comes in, or narration comes in. The narration can't do the work. The narration just kind of like, and Jad Abumrad did this in Neon Moss. The narration is just going to like move us from one piece of audio to the next. That's good narration. And then you're not going to like fill this whole thing up with music, because that defeats the purpose of the ambient sounds you get. But every now and then, like, music came in at a particularly dramatic moment in Neon Moss, and that was like pretty cool. So maybe you'll want to do that. It gets pretty exciting how you like can work on your overall story. We'll talk about all that in the next one. Now, here's the last thing that you want to do, right? Before you close this project, go to File, go to Save As. All right, let's see how this is going to work. Go to Browse. I'm actually doing this in real time, so good. Go to Google Drive. Go to My Drive. Go to where your files are. And there won't be any other file there of this type, right? This is an auditions file .sexx. So you won't see any of your files because it's looking for these particular ones. And save it there. Okay? And you're okay. Now, we're going to close Okay, so then you go back, you open Auditions, and then you click your project in that file. And there it is. Boom. So once again, it doesn't have to be on your computer. You can open any auditions on any computer on the campus. Once you open FileStream, right? Once you've signed into FileStream, then opened Auditions, then find your files, then open that file, and you're back to wherever you left off on that project. Okay? So, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. You also have support from ETS, and I'm going to again have documents from them on how to edit and work in Adobe Auditions. Be patient. If you make a mistake, we can fix it. Good luck. Have fun. Bye-bye.